Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Entrepreneur's Essentials. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite chapters, Chapter 9, How and Why to Ask for Help. First, a little bit about my t-shirt today. This is the I'm For You t-shirt that Kirk Dando, who's my CEO coach, gave me, and has given me more help than almost anybody in my entrepreneurial career, with one of the notable exceptions being my wife, Deborah. But Kirk is just a real mensch, really incredible as a mentor, and has helped me and so many other executives on my teams over the years. And very appreciative for all he does. And he always says there's three types of leaders. There's the leader that's for themselves, which fortunately is well, I shouldn't say fortunately, it is pretty common to have a for themselves leaders. And then there's the against you leaders, which that's where I mean, fortunately, is very rare. These are people that actually want people around them to fail. And then there's the rare for you leader who really gets their highs on other people around them succeeding. So now you know the meaning of this t-shirt. I'm going to jump right in here with Chapter 9, How and Why to Ask for Help. For this lesson from the Entrepreneur's Essentials on this Sunday afternoon before sunset and the beginning of Hanukkah, I'm going with recency bias again. I spoke to the son of a congressman this week who was asking for my help. He's a student at the University of Texas at Austin and in a very promising track. It's a track that I hired one of our best ever team members at Bizarre Voice out of, Jacob Solomon. Jacob went from intern to our head of marketing in Europe, and today he is the co-founder and CEO of Wisecrack, which I linked to here on Medium, a company we're proud to be backers of. But I digress. I met the congressman through APAC, a cause that I deeply care about. You can find me at the APAC Policy Conference every year, and APAC is spelled AIPAC. During our conversation, I referred the student to my original Lucky7.io post on the right way to ask for help and why people will answer your call when you do. I told him what I learned from Aaron Hoffman, my good friend in Silicon Valley. Since I wrote the original post 5 years ago, Aaron's career has only prospered greatly. He sets the gold standard for how to ask for help. We're proud to be backers of his newest company, SafeGraph, and look at how many amazing people he asked to help him along the journey. And I linked to that here on Medium. At Data.World, we've done our best to do the same. I have some of the best VCs and individuals I've ever worked with, from Shasta Ventures to John Mackey, the founder of Whole Foods. We've also built a large advisory board, from DJ Patel to Kelly Wright. You can see an almost complete list on our About page, which I link here in Medium. And it is pretty awesome that Workday Ventures is now involved, as reported here, which I also link to on Medium. We were just in Silicon Valley last week for our board meeting and spent a lot of time there with both Shasta Ventures and Workday Ventures. We're really fortunate to have their help. As I mentioned in Chapter 13, How to Leverage Advisors and Investors as Your Extending Team, I email all of our investors and advisors weekly with a pretty comprehensive update so that I can proactively and reactively get more of their help. In short, no matter how experienced you are as an entrepreneur, you need all the help you can get. There's nothing more difficult to do in your career than build a new company from scratch. So here we go with this lesson from the Entrepreneur's Essentials. It was first shared at Lucky7.io on April 18th, 2013, and I wove together 3 related but seemingly distinct threads: Steve Jobs, our founding fathers, and Israel's DNA. The lesson is all about how to ask for help and why people will answer the call if you do it right. I made very few edits to the original content below, mostly in the area of readability, not in substance of content. This 1.5-minute long interview with Steve Jobs from 1994 has been floating around the web, and I love it. It is a philosophy that a good friend, Aaron Hoffman, a serial entrepreneur himself, taught me when I was 26 years old and he was 24. I was lucky to have Aaron as a neighbor when he was the founder and CEO of BridgePath, and his office was right next door to mine at Coremetrics when Deborah and I lived in San Francisco. Aaron still lives there and has greatly prospered. Aaron had a very popular lunch club for the Silicon Valley elite. There was always a compelling speaker like the CEO of Exodus back when Exodus was a big deal. He invited me to attend with him, and I think the two of us were the most junior entrepreneurs there. So after attending several of these and being amazed at the networking opportunities each time, I asked Aaron over lunch one day, "How the heck do you do it?" He told me he was fearless to reach out to anyone, but he did it in a particular way. Instead of approach them with the typical, "I'm a young guy and would like to learn from you," he would approach them with a very informed perspective and opinion about their business, something they said or wrote, an organization that they're involved with, etc. This required more research, but it was very effective. It worked because of Aaron's personal passion and genuine desire to connect and not waste the other person's time. So it wasn't just a little bit of research, it was an authentic interest in what he had learned about that person and their business. In other words, it wasn't a cursory or shallow amount of research. It is the same reason why Bill Hewlett took the time to spend with Steve Jobs when he was only 17, as he talks about in this interview. How many other 12-year-olds do this? Very, very, very few. And could you imagine saying no to a 12-year-old like this? And for this, you really need to jump on Medium to watch this video interview of Steve Jobs. It's fantastic. This is one of the reasons why the content of the book sometimes is best seen in Medium. But of course, I love reading it to you here as well. This DNA is deeply embedded in American culture. As an entrepreneur, you really should learn from others and get their help. We're mostly a self-created country from a wealth perspective, and we represent around 1/4 of the world's GDP. That is an absolutely staggering amount given our age versus many other 1,000-plus-year-old countries. If you haven't read books like 1776 and Founding Brothers, I highly recommend that you do so. Our founding fathers were very ambitious entrepreneurs. They not only invented business models, but they also invented a new form of government, which was incredibly radical for that time. They took on the world's greatest modern empire, and they prevailed. They pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, except they couldn't afford boots at the time. Their mission was worth fighting for. In books like Man's Search for Meaning, one of my all-time favorites by Viktor Frankl, you'll understand why passion, a mission worth fighting for, is critical to survival. I leverage books like this at Bazaar Voice, especially during the deep financial recession and near economic collapse. We rallied as a team and continued to beat our goals, even though our clients, much larger and more established businesses, were going through a very scary time. I wrote this letter to our clients in October of 2008, and I link to that here on Medium. This is also why Israel has prospered. The book Startup Nation explains Israel's entrepreneurial genes well, and that country, at least modern Israel post-Holocaust, is only 65 years old. Its birthday was this week. Of course, this is dated as I'm reading this. It's 2021, and Israel is now a much older country. Deborah and I visited Israel for the first time last year. The conflict broke out halfway through our vacation. It was really amazing to see how the Israeli people around us rallied. They worked around the clock to get the Iron Dome in place 2 months ahead of schedule to protect Tel Aviv. If they had failed on that mission, there would have been far more chaos, as it almost certainly would have led to one of the Fajr 5 missiles successfully reaching Tel Aviv. When we returned from Israel, we stayed through quite a bit of the conflict at peace in Sfat. A good friend, David Bookspan, co-founder and chairman of Monetate and founder of incubator Dream at Austin, said, "Isn't it amazing how much Israel has prospered entrepreneurially given their surroundings?" To which I responded, "It is because of their mission and their surroundings." He agreed. In other words, Israel has a mission worth fighting for. The Holocaust wasn't that long ago. It is still fresh in many Israelis' minds. Those who pioneered the Zionist movement to establish modern Israel with the support of the United Nations. Israel is very entrepreneurial, like the United States, because of this. They have a lot to prove, and they have transformed their land and economy in an amazing way, and in a very short period of time. This is why, just editor's note here, as I'm reading this out loud, this is why I support AIPAC so much. We're very proud Minion level supporters every year, and it's because of this. I mean, it's such an entrepreneurial country, and it's this connection that we have, both as entrepreneurs and as Jews, to the land under such incredible circumstances to create its birth following the Holocaust, and now being the most entrepreneurial country in the world per capita. So in America, I'm getting back to the book here. So in America, 1776 is in our DNA. Although it was further back in our history than Israel's War of Independence, it is still deeply embedded in our DNA. We are a self-created country. That is why entitlements strike such a deep political chord, and they are, in fact, bankrupting us, as Mary Meeker's brilliant USA Inc. report points out, and I link to that here on Medium. So when you are thinking you need mentors, and we all do, know that you have the DNA of our country to give you the strength to reach out. Steve Jobs discovered this when he was 12 years old, and it no doubt shaped him as an entrepreneur. Bill Hewlett took the time to help him. I discovered this when I was 26 years old, thanks to my friend Aaron Hoffman. And now I am passing this knowledge on to you. I just spent the day yesterday with 3 different sets of entrepreneurs. One who saw me present at the Penn Founders Club during my recent return to the Wharton School as entrepreneur in residence. And I linked to a post about that I wrote on lucky7.io here on Medium, who had really taken the time to read many of my lucky7.io posts and get to know me virtually before reaching out. Like Aaron had done with so many others, this entrepreneur had really taken the time before he approached me to ask for my help. This founding father DNA is also why I feel so duty-bound to help our entrepreneurs here in Austin, a city that has given me so much. Pay it forward. Lucky 7 was created, in fact, to pay it forward. Note, this was originally posted on my blog at lucky7.io, where I've been writing about primarily entrepreneurship since 2012. The original post is there, and I link to it here on Medium, along with an interesting comments thread from back when I wrote it. I'll tell you one more story before I close this out. I met with Noah Kagan, a local entrepreneur here in Austin recently. He has a pretty great blog. Here is a post about how he lost $100 million when he got fired from Facebook. It's raw and authentic, and I link to it here on Medium. He has a pretty interesting way of making sure that people that ask him for help really want it. He asked them to send him a Taco Deli gift card. This is the way to clear his bar. When I was with him, he pulled out this stack of gift cards to illustrate this point. I have to admit, I really love Taco Deli too. And this stack of gift cards is just huge. The photo of it is here on Medium. I would love to hear how you ask for help and what your results have been. How does this lesson resonate with you? Are you more likely to ask for help now? Are you going to change your approach with how you go about doing so?